So what happens when you trap 50 of the biggest personalities on the internet inside a giant cube? Well, you get one of the most chaotic, unpredictable, and just fascinating social experiments ever streamed. Today, we're going to break down every single strategic move and wild moment of Mr. Beast's $1,000,000 streamer competition.
And at the absolute heart of it all was this number, $1 million. I mean, that's life-changing money. The stakes could not have been higher because the winner, they take it all.
And who was going for that prize? 50 streamers. We're talking about massive egos, millions of followers all watching, and 50 completely different ideas on how to win, all crammed into one tiny space.
Mr. Beast himself laid out the premise. And it's just so beautifully simple and completely insane. This wasn't just a competition. It was a battle of endurance, of strategy, and just sheer will to stay in that cube.
Okay, so the very first challenge immediately set the tone for everything. This wasn't about who was the best gamer or the most athletic. Nope. This was a raw, unfiltered popularity contest played out with paintball guns. A totally brutal test of social standing.
The rules seem simple, right? Everyone gets one shot. You use it to take out a rival. But as we saw, the strategy behind that one single shot was anything but simple.
And almost immediately, the first strategy emerged. Pure, simple revenge. You take a shot at me, I'm taking a shot right back at you. It is the most basic rule of playground politics, and it played out on this massive $1,000,000 scale.
But then you had the more calculated players. A second strategy popped up pretty quick. Some streamers just ignored the personal beefs and aimed for who they thought was the biggest competition. The idea? Take out the strongest players before they can even get going.
And then there was the third, and maybe the most powerful element of all, pure chaos. You had bad aim, stray shots, ricochets, people were getting hit by accident, and that would trigger these revenge cycles. It was just a perfect storm of strategy and completely unpredictable mayhem. So after the paint finally settled, 5 streamers were out. The first challenge was over, and it proved one thing. In this cube, your reputation was your very first line of defense.
With the herd thinned out a little, the next challenge introduced a whole new layer, a high-stakes psychological game of risk versus reward.
Man, the dilemma here was intense. You could volunteer, and if you won, you'd get to give a Lamborghini to one of your fans, an incredible content moment. The catch? You had to guess when 10 minutes were up, all while blindfolded. If you weren't the closest one, you were eliminated from the whole $1,000,000 competition. A huge risk, which is exactly why only 4 people dare to step up. The moment those blindfolds went on, the 40-plus streamers who weren't playing immediately started a campaign of pure psychological warfare. They're shouting out fake times to mess with the players, trying to sabotage their internal clocks. 2 minutes, 8 minutes, it's over. Just total chaos.
But the final 2 players? They had a secret weapon, something you hear about all the time in streaming. Comms. See, they had prearranged allies in the crowd who were secretly tracking the real time on their cameras and feeding them info. It was a brilliant move, turning this individual test of perception into a full-on team-based strategy game.
All right, so with the mind games over, the next phase of the competition was a classic split. It forced everyone to choose a side and bet on their core identity. Are you a gamer or are you an athlete?
And man, the lines were drawn instantly. On one side, you had streamers who live and breathe video games, totally confident in their digital skills. And on the other, you had those who backed their physical prowess. It was a really fascinating glimpse into how they all see themselves.
For the athletes, the challenge was soccer. All they had to do was score 1 goal. The problem, the goalie was Speed, who is notoriously energetic and, you know what, a surprisingly skilled keeper. If you miss, you're out. Simple as that.
But before the challenge even really got going, we saw maybe the craziest elimination of the entire event. Ludwig, a huge contender, got so excited about what was happening that he just stepped out of the cube. He broke the #1 rule, don't leave, and was eliminated by his own enthusiasm. Just an unbelievable, unforced error.
Meanwhile, the gamers were facing their own trial by fire, a super high-stakes game of Fortnite. The rules couldn't be simpler. Just survive. They were going to play until 12 of them were eliminated, with only the top 10 moving on to the next round.
And then came the biggest upset of the entire game. Tfue, a legendary, world-class professional Fortnite player, was unexpectedly eliminated. I mean, this sent an actual shockwave through the cube. If a god-tier player like Tfue wasn't safe, then literally nobody was.
After that absolutely brutal round of sports and gaming, a staggering 22 more streamers were gone. Over half of the contestants left were knocked out in just a single phase, leaving only the top 20 standing.
So this set the stage for a really dramatic shift in the whole competition. Up until this point, it had been every streamer for themselves. Now, all of a sudden, survival depended entirely on teamwork and communication.
Okay, so this challenge was a massive test of memory and coordination. Teams had just 10 seconds to memorize a random pattern of shapes. Then, a wheel would pick one of those shapes, and the entire team had to rush to where they thought it was. Get it wrong, and your whole team is at risk of being eliminated. It was a game designed for pure mayhem.
And all of this really brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? In a spectacle built on chaos, where you've got social dynamics, high-stakes risks, and pure chance all crashing into each other, what truly makes a winner? Is it raw skill? Is it clever strategy? Or is it just being in the right place at the right time? That's the core tension that makes this whole thing so compelling to watch.